our entries and exits for patterns that you may see on the chart. So I was asked this by a student, like, where do I make my entry when I see different patterns? Because we know we have support and resistance, and we already know that if we get to support, we're going to get into a call and we are going to ride it up to resistance. And if we get into a put at resistance, we're going to ride it down to support. All right, the entry and exit is kind of laid out right there just on the support and resistance levels. Now, Apple's 15-minute currently has a sort of a bear flag, or you may look at it as a wedge, or kind of like a pennant, but let's look at it here. And if you're not familiar with what a wedge, a lot of times when you start seeing a stock wedging up, it's just basically saying that it's preparing for a breakout. Now, this here could be preparing for a downside move. So when you see this, it's like, okay, where would I make my entry and where would I get in? This is where you will look for potential support and resistance, or where the price could potentially bounce, reject, and start to play out the result of whatever pattern you may be seeing. Okay, so if this is coming down, we have this long downtrend here. Okay. And then we have this here. Now, when the stock begins to wedge, the candles are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, now it's a little small here. You got some wicks, and it's just pretty much moving sideways, consolidation, and it's just blowing off steam. And then what happens is we begin to look for a potential breakout, whether it's to the upside or the downside. Now, you may notice here with Apple, now this is a 15-minute time frame. So if I were to really act on this, unless I had confirmation on like a higher time frame, then this would really be seen as a shorter term play. Okay, so here's what I would look for on this very simple pattern for a short term Apple trade. I would look for the price to get here, around this little area right here, or where we had this bit of an overkill here where this wick is, and they came in, they smacked it down, but they tried to get it back up, but not quite. So I will look for the price to retest here around this 254.35 level. Okay, we're not too far from it. It closed out at about 254.04. So if we hit here and we reject, I would look for this pattern to begin to play out to the downside after getting a rejection here, riding it down, making this here, this 253.83, my potential first target. And then from here to here at about 253.20. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So kind of like a rising wedge. Then you may even see this as a bear pennant. You may even say, is it a bear flag? Okay, it just a lot of times all depends on how you are kind of looking at it. Okay, so when we saw it earlier, I was like, we might be working with a bear flag here to kind of push up, get some rejection here, and push down. So these levels kind of give us two targets to have from this here playing out. And so the first thing we will watch for on Apple is to see, okay, when the market opens, will it break above this? And it could potentially push up. So if it does push up above this, I will look to see if we could test that white line. Okay, that white line is my 50 EMA. All right, I will look to see if it will retest here. And so if I go, let's look at a smaller one. We're going to go to our 20 EMA. Okay. And you kind of see that it kind of brings it down. Now, the EMA just lets you know the average price over a certain number of candles, or if you're like on a daily time frame, it's letting you know over a certain number of days. All right, but I don't want to cram that into this. But we kind of pushed over that 20 EMA over here, and it could potentially hold up there. But if it rejects, it could push down. We break back below that 254.12, which is this 20 EMA. We can retest here as an exit or here. Okay, so you just simply look for, if we're looking for a bearish move, simply look for a level where it could reject and begin to play out the particular pattern that you spotted.